Hi, hello everybody. Welcome to our webinar. Okay, welcome everybody. Welcome to Regulatory 4.0, Modernizing SAP DevOps for Compliance-Driven Industries. This webinar is held by ReleaseOwl and co-hosted with Capgemini, our guest on this webinar. So without further ado, let me introduce your speakers to you for the day. Today we have David Lawson with us. He is the global SAP COE lead of PACE accounts in Capgemini. He looks after around 120 SAP accounts across all industries, including many regulated industries as well at Capgemini. And he has broad knowledge on what's happening in the market, the latest trends, and he's going to give us insights based on that. And we have Niranjan Gattupalli, who is the founder and CEO of ReleaseOwl. He is totally committed to DevOps in SAP and to driving DevOps in SAP, especially in this context in regulated industries. He's going to help us understand how ReleaseOwl can help regulated industries that are using SAP start implementing DevOps and start getting ahead of the curve. The agenda for the next roughly 45 to 50 minutes will be an introduction to Regulatory 4.0, key compliance challenges in today's DevOps landscape, addressing compliance challenges in DevOps, the best practices for regulatory compliance in DevOps, ReleaseOwl's compliance-driven DevOps, and future trends in Regulatory 4.0. This is what our speakers of the day are going to take us through over the next 45 minutes. I hope that all of you enjoy this webinar and find it insightful. With that, I will hand it over to David.
Hello, everybody. Yeah, as was correctly said, Capgemini has around 1,500 S4 projects either completed or underway at the moment, and that's globally. And I'm very fortunate because I get to see them all and what's going on. I understand how quickly they're going, why they're working, or why some are struggling. I'll try and share my knowledge with you and talk about what's going on and what I see, and then we can explain what the answer might be, or part of the answer might be anyway. So if you think about what's going on with Regulatory 4.0, well, in Industry 4.0, this is the reaction to Industry 4.0. So everything is connected, everything is digital, everything changes quickly. And you need a new regulatory framework and tooling and things like that to support that. The old ways didn't work. And, my view about thinking about why we've got to change and think about this differently is you've got to think about, we're talking about SAP, is SAP was by and large put into large corporations from 1990 to the year 2008, when really most of them had it, and 85% of the very largest firms have it, and pretty well all the life science, all the aerospace, and all the regulated industries have it. And it doesn't match what's required for today. It's heavily bespoke. It's not connected to everything. It's supported in quite an old-fashioned way. It's very waterfall. It's very trouble ticket. It's all those things. And so, of course, it's no surprise that, when you move to a new version of SAP and you update Journey to S4 and you go to an agile approach and all those things, you need to, if you're going to get your value out of it, you have to do that. And to do that, you need a new regulatory approach to make sure you can move at the pace of your business and use the capability that you built in SAP. So Regulatory 4.0 is allowing you to adjust to Industry 4.0 in an SAP context, in a regulated context. And that's what we're going to talk about. Next slide, please. So people are spending a lot on moving to SAP S4 at the moment. And I do think most of people will have that as a challenge who are doing this. Or they're moving to an ECC solution, which is more API cloud driven. There's people doing that as well, but mainly it's moving to S4. That's costing a lot of money. I think the 400 largest companies in the world are probably spending 120 billion doing that. And they're going to take journeys of up to 7 years or sometimes quickly, but it could take that long to do it. And what I see is that the ones that are working in regulated industries are taking longer to do the implementation than the ones who are in unregulated industries. So the additional burden of regulation is slowing people down, or they're allowing to slow it down. I don't think it has to slow it down because there's really good examples as well. But you're making this huge investment. Why would you want to invest to have what you had before, a monolithic, slow-moving, difficult to approach, difficult to change SAP solution? You want something that's fast and quick. You need something that's very stable, but is able to change very, very fast to adapt to your business. And the hope is that when you've got a new SAP cloud-enabled solution, then people will be able to get used to changing it a lot and moving it around and doing new things with it. And hopefully a greater connection with the business rather than being the nasty IT people who aren't very helpful downstairs. You'll become the way that people come and ask you to do things. So you want to get full value of it. And the way the whole architecture around SAP has changed, instead of it being a bespoke thing where you bespoke in the core, you now try to do all your extensibility, innovation, and everything like that outside the core using cloud. And you don't bespoke the core. Therefore, you don't need to test it quite as much. There's less regression testing. It's much cleaner. It's easier to understand. You can take all the new releases from SAP, again, which requires lots of regulatory compliance to make sure that's okay. Nice to do that. But at the same time, you've not got to take compliance risks because your business is really important and there's huge financial penalties or security issues, or if you work in nuclear or something like that, the issues are real. So I'm not saying you can forget them. You just have to manage them in a new and modern way. I think the other thing that is probably missing from this slide is life is more complicated. You used to have an ECC core, and that was it, and a few things attached to it. Now you have a clean ECC core, and you extend it using API-driven cloud technology, and you use multiple platforms. You'll have SAC, you'll have BTP, you might have some Azure, you might have third-party products in the mix. You could have other stuff, but all those things, when you're going through regulatory compliance and everything like that, you have to check them all correctly, and you have to upgrade them and change them all at the same time and release functionality correctly and safely at the same time if everything's going to work. You really can't not do that. So you've got more components. So instead of just having a core component and going and testing it repeatedly, you're now going to have to release and correctly do it in the right order and check multiple components. So that it's got more complicated, but it has got better. So the way you do SAP has changed. You really do want to make it a living, breathing, exciting system, but you've still got to get the best value out of it, and you've still got to be compliant. So that's what I'd say there. Next slide. Oh, and so you've got some challenges, and you've got some consequences of those challenges. So clearly, the GXP compliance and quality controls, you have to meet them. You have to prove that you've done them, and you have to show that you've got it. And I'm not suggesting for a second you go back on those. That's really, really important. You have to have an audit trail, and that audit trail, as I said, is far more complex. It's far more components. Perhaps more people approving things. If you've got Scrum teams and stuff like that, it's not quite as linear as it used to be with one person approving somebody else and somebody else. And you do get people who are very, very tired of compliance. And I feel when I'm talking to a lot of customers about this, they kind of either they've given up or they just think, my life is easier if I just go along with the current compliance regulations and we've already to change it. But there's huge risks if they don't get it right. There's legal, financial risks. Clearly, you'll be fined if you don't meet it. Massive reputational risk if you lose data or you make something that isn't correct, and a massive compliance, a massive problem with disruption to the way you do things if you get caught or you're non-compliant or your auditor comes in. So there's a huge risk in that. What is true is that the rules are out there for a more lean, compliant approach. So if you look at something like the Computer Software Association, they suggest that you should do things differently. So you should do less of you should be moving from towards a new computerized validation rather than paper-based. You should accept digital signatures. You should be using a tool chain to manage this rather than lots and lots of people and lots of signatures. You can you can do it through a gate process rather than doing testing every single thing. You can automate workflows, and you can transform the majority of documents, everything like that, rather than into items, rather than lots and lots of documents. And you can test when you need to, not test everything, and you can test when things change. You don't need to test the things that don't change. And I think there's a lot of people either making their careers or very, very bored of just repeatable testing. So the frameworks are available and approval, and you can implement them in your company if your company or employer is willing to change. And we think in this webinar, we're going to provide a solution to that. So my final slide is, I think you've got to change SAP quickly when it's in, you've invested in it, you've built all this API stuff. Going back to the old ways of fix on fail and projects, miniature projects, is not going to be particularly agile. So moving towards agile and DevOps is a must, I think, to get the value out of SAP and to keep our careers interesting, because lots of people will be doing that for years to come. You can implement continuous risk-based testing and validation rather than having everything being tested, and you can look at the risk and prioritize the right one. The solution clearly has to be really private and secure, and ReleaseOwl is really private and secure, and that will be explained in a bit. You have to have the approval framework that suits your company, the rules that you have in the company, and also the parts of the solution that you have. If you have 20 different components that are changing, you have to have each through the validation process and approval process. You can't just do it on one thing. And you've got to be able to see everything you've done and produce auditable list that says we've done it, it's been agreed, and everybody has to agree that's okay. The rules say you can. If you've got something that does that, then you should be able to use it from compliant reporting. I think that is the end of that, because now Niranjan is actually going to tell you how you do it. So that's the kind of problem in the business context. There we go.
Wonderful. Thank you, David. It's with 3 decades around in SAP and implementing SAP solutions from long time. You have seen it all, and what I would like to do over the next 30 minutes is about the commitment that ReleaseOwl has in terms of innovating in SAP DevOps, focused on the investments into regulatory and compliance. That is what the purpose of the next 30 minutes is going to be. And I have Rahul with me. Rahul, if you can raise your hand. Rahul is one of our first solution architects of the platform, and I have taken his help to demonstrate some of these capabilities. Next slide, please. So let me give you a quick 30-second overview of ReleaseOwl for those who have not heard of us before, which I believe the otherwise, but still, ReleaseOwl is a native DevOps platform that we have built on SAP, built for SAP. We are certified, and we are on the SAP store, and we are an ISO certified company as well. So ReleaseOwl supports packaging, deployment, testing, compliance, and audit for SAP applications built on ECC, BTP, Integration Suite, Analytics Cloud, and DataSphere as well. Next slide, please. So real quick, from a transport management, we have pretty rich transport management capabilities, including web-based retrofit and very well designed GCTS-driven pipelines that can work for your even 5-tier landscapes with complexities around hot fixes and things like that. Then we have BTP integration with Gate, to be able to package and deploy from Gate, the support for MTAR, CAP, and RAP. We also have integration with the security scanner, Sonar Cube, just to ensure that you have all the static code analysis that is required. Integration Suite, we are leading this innovation in terms of our packaging deployments, our integration with an open source security rule engine. Then we have also a test generator that when trace is enabled, as you play your iFlow, it creates a regression test suite in ReleaseOwl even without a click. And then we also have a mock-up framework that's there in the platform, and we have backup and rollback fully available for Integration Suite. Now we also have released support for Analytics Cloud and DataSphere, where with the DataSphere, we have the capability to move your stories within the space of the same tenant also, not just across the tenants, across the sub-accounts. We have the multiverse capability, which is what is being patented. It's about deployment multiverse to be able to package and deploy multiple SAP artifacts, be it a ECC transport, S4 transport, in a Git-based MTOR to an iFlow to analytics cloud model. So we can deploy them in one request and ReleaseOwl intelligently identifies destinations, takes care of dependencies, and does the deployments. And metrics is the key to ensure any efficiencies, any investments, to see if we are getting the ROI back, and in terms of maturity of the practice. So we have pretty solid DevOps metrics, DORA metrics implemented that gives you the deployment frequency, lead time to change, mean time to restore, and change failure rates. That helps you to assess in real time how is the resilience of my application as well as the speed of my application. Next slide, please. So yeah, some of those things, it's a pretty comprehensive platform, but this focus is on regulatory side. So we will talk about a couple of things related to digital signatures, then our ServiceNow integration, things like that, which will actually help your teams do compliance and regulatory work much faster. That is the goal that we will try to spend the next few minutes. So on this note, we will jump right into, okay, this is more clear in terms of what you will be seeing. Quality gates. It's not about doing some paperwork outside your process and then coming and updating them. That's great, but that's not 100% foolproof. These have to be built into your pipeline as a quality gate, so that only if this is done, then you move to the next step. Be it with your DocuSign signatures, be it with your test evidence reports, be it with your change request in ServiceNow, they should be attached to the pipeline. That is when you get absolute traceability of the change. So that is what we will demonstrate, the quality gates. And then we have a very unique, very comprehensive release report, which will give you the details about the release, the components deployed, the approval information at each stage, and the actual lines of change that is modified. So what it means is you have one PDF that gives you 100% information, including audit log, including activity log, including approval log, including change log. Every single click that has happened in your release is all captured into a PDF. It is available as a report in ReleaseOwl, and for you to update in any portals, that will be available as a PDF, and how it is generated automatically is what we will show you. So on this note, we will jump right into demo. So Rahul, if I can request you to share your screen.
Yes. Yeah, I hope you're able to see my screen.
Yeah, so on your left-hand side, this is ReleaseOwl dashboard, where you can see user stories populated. And then okay, let's be on the dashboard. So dashboard is about which stories are in which stage, which transport have moved to which stage, what is your deployments details, what is your last release pipeline information. And on the first module that you see on the left-hand side after dashboard is change management. And you click on user stories there. So here we have out-of-the-box integration with Jira, with Azure DevOps, and ServiceNow Agile. And what you see is the story is directly available here, which is bidirectional integration. We also have a rudimentary change management within ReleaseOwl that you can create your backlogs, releases, and sprints, user stories within ReleaseOwl. Rahul, we lost your screen.
Yes.
Yeah, all good. So that is about the change management module. And on your left-hand side, the next button is the build section. This is where let's really click once. So we have, be it for S4 ECC, the comprehensive transport management capabilities, be it Workbench, be it GCTS, or the configuration things, we have complete support. And we have retrofit capabilities to move the changes from one environment, one landscape to another landscape. And in terms of CPI, we have capabilities to manage iFlows, manage value maps, API proxies, then to be able to compare a particular artifact from one environment into across other environments, or if you want to have backup and rollback, all those options. Even if you are deploying these artifacts, you want to preserve the variables, environment variables during the deployment, that is also available in the platform. Then you have the SAC management, where you can pretty much do similar activities with your Analytics Cloud content. And then you have DataSphere to sync your packages here from your sub-account into ReleaseOwl, and then assign your user stories to say which user story is this content about, and then promote it through pipelines. The last is the build pipelines. This is more from Fiori or a BTP, which involve Git. We have to be able to fetch the changes from Git from a Git branch and package, and then promote them through the pipeline. So the build section is more about synchronizing your artifacts from your SAP systems, validating them, and then creating the artifacts that are required, and then to be making them available for promotions. Last section that I will talk about is the pipeline. So let us look at the pipeline that we created for this session, focused on regulatory side, keeping other tasks aside. So there are two stages here for the demo. One is the quality stage, and then the other is a prod. And there are a lot of tasks that you can add if you just click on add. So the tasks are our strength. You can create a very comprehensive pipeline, exactly fitting the approval process in your current SAP practice, whichever process you have. You can fit that very well on point and click with ReleaseOwl. Be it an approval, if you want to call out external systems, if you want to perform deployment steps, if you want to have DocuSign approvals, if you want to assign a manual task to anybody, or if you have some message listener systems and you want to act on message listeners, or you want to have where you want to upload a test evidence, and then based on the result from test evidence, you want to continue the pipeline, or you want to have every single step being updated to your Jira or Azure DevOps, so that your project managers and agile teams can look at that Jira or Azure DevOps is the source of truth for them to have every single information written back. So there is a rich set of tasks. Let us look at what we have for this demo. So we have a validation task. Validation is important. Whether it is a transport, we have a pretty rich validation in terms of ATC checks, ABAP unit tests, code coverage. If it is CPI, we have the security checks. They are all available. And based on the type of artifact, ReleaseOwl picks up what validations to run, and it will run. And the deployment approval will be sent to a particular role, particular user, or a group, so that they'll get that notification with all the validation results, and they can take a decision whether it is not about I did my work and I push my lead to do the approval, but it is about after I do my work, the pipeline kicks off, run validation, send validation report to the user, to the lead, or to the peer who will review, and he or she will have lines of change, quality results, everything automatically available, so that they make much more informed decision. And then we have the QA deployment, which does deployments into QA. And then we have a user story update. And here, if you see the deployment steps, you can see this is pretty comprehensive deploy. It can deploy to any SAP environment, and to have the capability to roll back is available as a checkbox in the deployment design. And user story update, it just goes ahead and updates based on your integration. It will go ahead and update user stories into your ALM system. And then we have a DocuSign approval. So wherein you can create templates here. You can get your templates from here, DocuSign templates. And then as part of quality gate, it comes to you to sign the DocuSign, and as you sign, the pipeline will continue. And Then this is all about QA, and then we wait for production deployment schedule, and after that, the production tasks. We kept them a little bit simple to complete this in time. So validation step, after that, ServiceNow, we have a very, very rich integration with ServiceNow, where with all the context, all the quality results, it will create an automatic CR in ServiceNow, and as it is approved, then it will continue the pipeline into the deployment. So then we have user story update, business checkouts, IT checkouts that we typically have after production. So this is what we have designed as a workflow. And what it takes for you is to create such a pipeline is probably less than 5 minutes. If you have your SAP boxes connected, these are all available out of the box in the platform. Now, let us go ahead. Now that as a release manager, I have designed my approval process. Now taking a developer hat, there is a story that developer has to work, and developer has worked on it. Let us look at that story once. Let us look at the story 217. So as a developer, I have worked on my story, attached my transports. So you can create transports or attach transports to the user story. So that's a work branch request, and the transport is in released state. And then I also have a CPI artifact that I want to deploy as part of the story. Now I have added CPI artifact also to this particular user story. So I have my project manager assign me a user story to work with, and I have worked on my changes, and I have added my artifacts to this user story. And as a multiverse team, you can attach all these artifacts that you see, transport to CPI to all artifacts that you have for your user story that you want to develop, you can add to one's user story and you can deploy them as required. Now, my next step is validation. That once I add my changes, there's a validate button, but we will let them through the pipeline just to save time. We have a validation step in the pipeline. So we will run the validations, but as a developer, I can validate it right here. Now let us go ahead and promote this story. Now that assume that I have done my development, I have added my transports, flows, and now what all I need to do as a developer, step 1 is attach my stories, step 2 is validate, step 3 is promote. So let's click promote, and this will kick off the pipeline. So here you can see all the stages of the pipeline that we have defined are available here at runtime. Now this is pipeline in action. Now this validation is in progress. Now that we have a transport, it does the ATC checks. And then because we have CPI, it runs the CPI rules. And let us probably give a few seconds for it to run. Yeah, it is completed. Now and this has gone now. We can look at the report here, or let me take another second to look at it as a deployment approval. So this is sent as an approval to me. See, ideally, as in the real system, the deployment approval will not be the same. But for demo, to avoid too many logins and change the context of the viewers, we are giving it to the same user for approval. So now there is a My Task section on the left where you can see, and you can see all the tasks that are available. So here I have a deployment approval task. So instead of regularly saying I did all the work and then asking my lead to approve, so here you can see what is the story, what are the transports, what are the components that are part of it. And then I have validation report, clicking on this validation report. So I have 3 layers. Developer can click validation. Validation can be part of the pipeline, and the reviewer can look at, okay, downgrade protection not there, cross-release checks verified, and then test execution. If there are tests, it will run. Critical object checks are passed. Let's look at the test execution. So the tests have passed, looking great. And there is code coverage report that I let the team review, and ATC report where you can get any errors, warnings as given by the ATC. And then we have governance rule engine, which will give us the kind of nature of these securities. And it is a configurable. You can add your rules. We have made it very flexible to to tune which rules you want, which rules you can turn off. So I have all this information. Now I just go ahead and let's say I'm good with this change in the context of demo. I go ahead and approve this. So once I approve this, the deployment approval is done. Now the deployment is happening. Probably it will take another probably a few seconds. And while it does, the details will be written in the deployment logs. And the information will be in Jira as well. So here you can see the transport is already deployed. The iFlow deployment is in progress. And if there is any failure, you can see the deployment logs are in the next tab. So that will capture. Now the deployment is complete. Now the user story is updated in Jira. So we really quick take 1 second. That will make the agile practitioners here, agile leaders here, very happy on how it summarizes all the information into Jira itself. So here you can see who changed the status, who released the traces, who deployed this, what are the quality results that are there. Everything is available for you in your Jira story itself. All real-time updated into it. Now just taking one step back, now let's go ahead. All good, QAs were certified. Now we just want to approve it. Now you can see a DocuSign approval stage is waiting. So I go ahead now into my tasks. So I have a DocuSign approval. I just look at this task. I'm good with the changes and everything. Now I look at my envelope here. It is sent to individual. So yeah, if you look at this, the DocuSign screen that you see. So here, DocuSign is available here. Now Rahul will sign this and the information is sent as DocuSign and you can see here that the status is completed, the signatures are done. And you can even download that. Yeah, okay, we'll continue. We'll show that later. Yeah, we're good. So let us go back to our pipeline. Yeah, so DocuSign approval is done. Now we are all set for, yeah, please, let's click details. So here, you can see the documents here, and you can see the signed document here. It has been signed. So this will help teams to ensure that you have very, very tight control in terms of getting quality information back for you to certify. And only when you are absolutely good and you certify, you are 100% sure that then only the pipeline will continue. It is not you have a DocuSign task and then somebody else keeps doing deployments. Now, waiting, let's start the promotion, production promotion. We are all good. So this is just a step to initiate the production steps. So validation is running. After that, we just will show the service now. And so we'll give a minute because we see teams in DocuSign or test evidence approvals, test evidence verifications. A lot of time is spent and that is not connected to your process. Now, with all this information, now the information is a service now change request is created. Okay. So here you can see a service now change request is assigned for me. And we can look at the service now change request. It's so easy. We don't need to search through spreadsheets, what transports and all that. We don't need to search through the deployments, which deployment I have to add this information. And you have service now change request, hundreds of it in service now, tons of deployments here in your STMS. And if you want to map which deployment to what, I mean, these are a lot of time taking. And It is unwanted stress. That's what I call it as. And here you can see change request created, information written, and once the change request is approved, I think we need not to change request here. In the interest of time, and you will approve this deployment if you're all good with change request, and then it proceeds to deployments. And once deployment is done, it will update. And so this is what I mean. We just wanted not to overkill your time in terms of showing everything in ReleaseOwl, but more focused on what is important. We are good, Rahul, in terms of the capabilities. We are good, and we have integration with Tosca, UiPath in terms of test automation in the quality gates, something that I missed, and we are also building monitoring as a service in terms of looking at the core vitals and then give heads up to your 24/7 teams in terms of things going out of the way. And last but not least, our PDF that I was talking about, which gives you complete summary. Can we open that PDF? I'm sure teams who are maintaining and creating these things, you can see the traceability report here. You can see the release summary where you have the user stories, information, artifacts that are deployed, and you have the validation summary, which ones have failed in terms of security checks. There are 3 violations, and this is validation summary about the transport. And you have the stage-by-stage deployment details like QA, validation approval, and the summary. And you have the document approval, and you have document URL here directly to go and review, and production information, the deployment information there. And here the traceability part, which parameters are imported from environment. And here you have the exact lines of change that has happened in this release. And these are very critical because these are all in multiple silos. Your changes are somewhere like Git or in your SAP box. Your audit information is somewhere, and you have the approval and audit summary here as to what has happened with the timestamps in every step of this release. This is available in some system. Changes are available somewhere, and release information is somewhere. ServiceNow requests are somewhere. DocuSign is somewhere. We connected 6 systems and demonstrated in 15 minutes. And to be able to get a complete, consolidated, integrated report for your release. So this is what we wanted to take a pause, and we will go back. Probably I take 1 minute to ask any questions at this stage. I believe we made sense and to the point. I will be happy if there are any questions, or we will move on and we'll conclude it. There is one question. Let me just take that one question. And what did CTMS and other external services are you using behind your UI5? Yeah, what's the logic as being an individual using companies in-house? See, there are things. See, we are a native application built on SAP. We use capabilities of SAP, the available APIs of SAP, and we bring these intelligence integrations which today are maintained independently. Validation rule configuration, the rules are configurable, and you can pretty much choose. There are around 200 rules which you can choose for your project. Based on the standards that you want to have, you can choose those rules. It's a UI-based configuration. I think there are more than 200 rules that are available. Okay, great questions. And yeah, so we will hear from David on his expertise in terms of what he thinks as the future and where it is heading. And Tanya, I would request you to share the deck, and then we'll hear from David on his thoughts.
So my thoughts are that in the world of SAP S4 and the new cloud-based architectures and solutions, which really have only been available for a few years, this is an essential part of getting value out of your solution. I talk about a state of SAP nirvana where people are changing it quickly, it's costing less to support, you're doing weekly releases or daily releases, you've become friends with the business and the business are asking you to do things. You're driving down the cost of supporting and hosting because you're taking clean data, you're getting rid of all the mess that you've got now. And SAP therefore becomes an important part of your new digital businesses and your new digital processes. Business is changing, I believe, 3 times faster than it was a decade ago. Nobody can keep their job forever. Now everybody changes, the CXO community changes. If you're going to adopt a more lean and agile approach to supporting SAP by putting it in correctly, using the cloud extensibility, taking advantage of all the new functionality from SAP as more and more becomes available in the cloud, the SaaS products, then you can have a bright future for yourselves and your teams. You'll get more interest, you'll get more excitement, you'll be doing more stuff. And I believe SAP will start to push back the boundaries of their footprint, of some of the people that have been trying to take work off them, the sales forces and like, they can get this right. So not getting this in, getting it working through the complexity of the different components, building in speed, still remaining compliant, will allow everybody to have a bright SAP future, an interesting career, and put SAP at the heart of everybody's digital business. So this is an important component and one that at Capgemini we looked for a while. We knew it wasn't there. We knew we needed it, and ReleaseOwl provided it. So we're very pleased. Thank you.
Yeah, last slide, we have the takeaways. Yeah, so thank you, David. It is extremely pleasure and an honor to have you on this. And I believe for the audience, we talked about regulatory 4.0 is a catalyst for innovation and the speed that you want to deliver. That's what I call speed with stability, and only systems like DevOps implemented well deliver that, and quality gates that actually are actionable and part of your CI/CD is the way forward, so that you are really when there is an actual audit, regulatory compliance check, you are actually in control of the systems. And change management audit with risk scores and with comprehensively available is essential, and to be able to leverage. I mean, this technology stack is rapidly changing, and to be able to fit regulatory quickly and to be able to ensure that you have the speed and stability, DevOps platforms like ReleaseOwl will be a significant arsenal for your teams to run faster. So this is what we wanted to spend time today, and I believe it has been insightful to you. Once again, thank you, David, and looking forward.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, everyone.
I think if 1 minute I think we are past 1 minute, but if there are questions I can take now. Where ReleaseOwl stands on the ISO, we are an ISO certified platform. All right. Thank you very much for your time, and you have a great rest of the week.
Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Thank you, team.
Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.